launch of our Breastober, what we are calling this year our Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is October, and there's one color that pops up everywhere in the month of October, and that is pink. What does pink signify? It is the month of breast cancer awareness. Here in Yahoo Medical Center, as I said earlier, we are calling it Breastober. So if you see anybody saying Breastober, it's just drawing your attention to the month. Now, I'm very, very privileged to have two guests with me today who are going to tell us some facts, some you might know, some you might not know, but of course, there's always an opportunity to learn. And somebody who we are more than privileged to have share her story with us, her story with breast cancer. Now, the WHO says breast cancer is actually the leading cause of death in cancer among women. Every year, we see the numbers going up. So what do you know about breast cancer? Are you taking any prevention measures? Are you in a risk factor? On my left, which will be to your right, I have Dr. Romeo Hussein. I'm going to introduce him, and because he's a doctor, I'm taking pains to make sure I get all the facts ready. So Doc, your introduction. He's a general surgeon who is dedicated to quality improvements. He's a member of the Ghana College of Surgeons. He earned his medical degree at the School of Medicine here in USD. He has a certificate in health administration and management from GEMPA. And he's been involved in a number of researches, both locally and internationally. And he says this with pride. He says he takes a lot of pride in the care he offers his patients, and his patients will really attest to this. He has a passion, and he's driven by the bonds he builds with his patients and with his team. In his spare time, he loves to engage in sporting. We'll find out what team he supports. What team do you support? Manchester United, not my team, but that is great. I'm sure they are very happy now. And Dr. Hussein is married, he lives in Teshi, and he enjoys his life with his two sons. So welcome, Doc, and we are more than privileged to have you here. And to my right, we have Mrs. Josephine Kafutete. As I said, we are very privileged to have you tell us your story. Okay. But just before we start, I just want to tell you why we are doing this as a center. Yahoo Medical Center has a foundation called the Yahuda Foundation. And every year we screen women, we screen some men who make themselves available. We say breast cancer is not just for women, it is for men as well. Over the past years, we've screened over 6,000 women. And this year we are looking at screening some more, focusing on senior high schools, focusing on people in the prisons. So if you are available, just stay tuned. We'll tell you when you can get screened for free and how you can support this cause. So I will go straight to Doc, and Doc is going to give us some facts, some information about breast cancer. So Doc, what would you say we must know basically about breast cancer?
So it's October again, and so breast cancer, here we go. Breast cancer, like we know, is the leading cause of cancer deaths among women. And over the times that breast cancer has reared its head, we realize that in as much as inroads are being made to manage the disease, usually it's a difficulty because people come in quite late. And so the disease is very advanced by the time they show up. So a few things I would like us to know are the risk factors. How the disease also presents is also important so that we can detect these things early, show up at the medical facility, and get managed. So for risk factors, we don't have a particular cause or one particular cause for breast cancer. And so it is a combination of these factors that predisposes anybody to the disease. And let's know, in as much as we are making noise that it is in women, some men also get breast cancer. So men should take note. So one of the important risk factors is the fact that if you have a family history of breast cancer, then your chances of getting breast cancer is high. The second thing is being female. like I said, up to about 95% of the patients with breast cancer are women. So the fact that you're a woman makes you predisposed to it. The third one is age. It's been shown that the older you get, the more predisposed you are to having breast cancer. And in fact, it's been shown that it is rare, although not impossible, for people below 20 years to have breast cancer. So it means that once you pass your 30s, 40s, hitting 50s and 60s, the predisposition is higher. There are other factors which also predispose any woman, or for that matter man, to breast cancer. There is what we call nulliparity. And by nulliparity, we mean that any woman who has not had a child or has not given birth before. And this is because once you have not given birth before, you are exposed to the hormone called estrogen. Breast cancer thrives on this hormone. And so if all throughout your life you have your menstruation and there's no break, your estrogen exposure over that period is high. And so you not having a child is a predisposition to having breast cancer. This is not to say that if you're a woman and you haven't delivered before, you are surely going to get breast cancer. That is not it. It only increases your risk. The other thing is the fact that when you have your menarche starting early, that is less than 12 years. Menarche, I mean the time when you start menstruation as a woman. If your menarche is early, that is less than 12 years, and you add your menopause being late, and by late I mean that your menopause runs into after 55 years, then you have a period of from 12 years to 55 years where you are exposed to estrogen. And this continuous exposure predisposes any woman to having breast cancer. There are other ones which I would say are more modifiable risk factors, like smoking, obesity, intake of alcohol. These are things that also predispose everybody to having cancer in general and breast cancer in particular. And so these are basically the risk factors I'll talk about. We've also seen as clinicians that, like I mentioned earlier, patients come in late. And so what can we do about it? One important thing that I'll stress on, which may come up later, is the fact that every woman, and for that matter, man, should know how to examine her breast, or his or her breast. This is because it is at that point that you can pick changes early enough. And so once we pick the changes early, we are able to intervene. The other thing I want to stress on is some of the changes that when we see, we don't hesitate but show up in hospital. So as a woman, if you realize that there is any lump in your breast, you show up to the hospital. If you realize that there is any change in the color of the skin on your breast, you have to report to the hospital. If there is any nipple discharge, especially when you realize that the nipple discharge is bloody, you have to come to hospital. The other thing is that you realize sometimes that the nipple becomes inverted. That means it's going inwards. It is something you have to report to hospital. This does not mean that all what I'm saying are equal to breast cancer, but these are changes that must be investigated so that we clear any doubts as to whether it is breast cancer or not. Sometimes these lumps may be even in the armpit. And so these are things that we have to look out for. Sometimes you realize that the skin on the breast looks like an orange peel, what we call podorange. And these are things that show that breast cancer may be ongoing. The fact that there is no lump does not mean that you cannot have breast cancer, because there are breast cancer types that we call inflammatory breast cancer. So they don't present as lumps, they just present as a gross reddening of the breast, which looks like it's dimpled all over. So these are things that I want to bring to the attention of all of us, so that as women and also as men, either we are checking for our partners or we are checking ourselves, so that anytime
Welcome back to the virtual launch of Breastober 2021. This is the virtual launch of our Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We apologize for the technical that you went off for a few minutes, but we are back. And as I said, or just before we went off, Doc was telling us about family history. So we'll go back to Doc, and he's going to tell us what he meant about having family history and how that pertains to having breast cancer.
Yes. So, family history we look at in two categories. So we are looking at what we call first-degree relatives. So by first-degree relatives, I mean your mother, your sister, or your daughter. And if any of these people have had breast cancer in the past, that increases your chances of getting breast cancer. The other one, who are not close to you, like your cousins, your aunties, also when they have had breast cancer before, also puts you at risk. But their risk is not as high as your first-degree relatives. Also, even the history of ovarian cancer and sometimes prostate cancer in men in your family gives some level of risk to you as an individual in developing breast cancer. So that is what I meant.
Yeah, thank you very much. And as I said before the break, if you have questions, please put your questions in. We will answer them and get to the latter part of this program. We'll now go to Mrs. Josephine Tete. She's a counseling psychologist, and she's going to tell us her story. She's a survivor, a proud one at that, and we thank God for her life. So, Mrs. Tete, will you tell us your story? How did you discover that you had breast cancer in the first place?
Beautiful. So all of this started in October 2017 during the Awareness Creation Month. My daughter was in school, called me that because of the awareness creation, some doctors were in the school, took them through how they can self-examine their breast. So I think a couple of weeks after she did examine her breast, and she noticed that there was a lump in her breast. She called me, and immediately I felt I needed to bring her over so that we get the needed attention. However, the school said a couple of doctors are coming from the US, that's also international, from the US, and they would take her through. But as a mother, I didn't feel settled about that. Immediately the next day, I was in the school. I checked, and the following day, that is Wednesday, was breast cancer clinic in Curable. So immediately I brought her down. We were in Curable. They examined, and lo and behold, they found some small, sizable lump in the breast. Eventually, she was booked for surgery when she comes on vacation.
She's a teenager.
She's a teenager. She was then, I think, 17 years old. So I said, well, I got to Curable. For who I am, I should have known that Breast Cancer Awareness October month, but it just took me off guard. And I realized we were doing screening that. I said, oh, so if I am here, then let me also take the opportunity to screen me as well. I was told, go come in the afternoon when the screening is done. For this moment, we are attending to patients. I said, you know what, I'm so busy that if I go, I may not be able to come back. So please, do examine me. So they asked me to go live, and it started. This doctor would come and go, another would come and go and consult and come. At a point, I had 3 doctors on me and just sharing ideas, this and that, and I realized that something fishy could be going on because it took a while. Others go in and come back quickly, but it took a while. So I asked, what is going on? He said, well, we are not seeing all things so clear. So we would want you to go and do further investigation. So cutting a long story short, I went and I came, and here I was, mammogram indicating, yes, it is malignant. So I will have to accept it. Immediately they told me, I said, really? Okay. Then I asked the question, what is the process? What is the path? What must I do? There in Curable, they said, wow. Even before they told me, they said, go whom did you come to Curable with? I said, I came alone. Would have preferred you come with somebody. I said, well, read the news, whatever it is. It is my life first. I'll go tell whoever is involved, whatever you relay on to me. So I asked for the process. Said, you'll have to possibly go through all the examinations, all the tests. Then I said, I am ready. The doctors looked at me and said, really? If we have all patients who come in here readily available to agree that this is my situation, what is the way forward, we wouldn't be in a situation where we can't find our left from our rights. So then, I also said, if that is the case here, you know what, my background is counseling psychology. I deal with a lot of people. I'm able to take people through their issues and then come to an acceptance. So will it be okay for me to come help your system so that I take people through the reality, agree, and then we move on? So really, you know what? This is a laudable idea, but let us start with your treatment. When you're done, we will see how this will be established. And lo and behold, for this reason, Curable had a counseling unit attached to its consultation of breast cancer.
Yeah. So, sorry, before you go, so were you scared at all at any point in time? Were you, oh my God, what does this mean? Or you already knew about it?
I have heard about breast cancer. I've known people who have gone through breast cancer. I've known the devastating effect of breast cancer. Eventually, you will die if it doesn't go well, or if you don't take the right processes for treatment, you will die. But to me, my background as a counseling psychologist, my background as a minister of God, death is something that I'm not so afraid of. Because I live my life each day fulfilling the reason why I'm here. I live my purpose by the day. So if I'm to die now, it wasn't such a big deal for me, okay? But what I would give to life was most important for me. That was the reason why I said I would come help others. So I went through surgery, we did lumpectomy, I went through chemotherapy, and I went through radiotherapy. And in all of the processes, my focus and attention was living each day of my life fulfilling my responsibilities. I can tell you that my church, I mount podium every now and then. There was not a time that my church could tell that I am off the scene. At a point when I was giving testimony, it was like, when did this happen to this woman? Because she's always been here. And one amazing thing, going through radiotherapy, it got to a point that the breast became sore. And in that, before then, my passion for guiding and doing what I'm here to do. I take youth through youth camping every year. And this time around, it was the time I was doing my radiotherapy. So I told them I will have to go for youth camping, coach my youth through some program. Said, no, you can't break the treatment. It's not that. I said, you know what? This is paramount to me. This is more important to me. I must go. And the doctors were like, you, this woman, you're always like for others, right? So lo and behold, the time came for the youth campaign, and this breast had become so sore that radiotherapy can't continue. They had to automatically break me from the treatment, go and make sure the sore is healed before I come back. And the next day, I was off to youth camp. My family, everyone was wondering, how are you going to handle this at youth camp? I didn't know how I was going to handle it, but all I was interested in was to be there, take care of my children, teach them, and let them get what they must get. A miracle happened. A miracle happened. Before then, home, it was so unbearable going through this that I was going through. But I said, I'll go. I went to the youth camp, and the first night, I slept, woke up, and I could see black patches of healing that happens to a soul that is reddened. It was so miraculous. It was so surprising. I just could not understand how overnight what I'd gone through days could just heal with that. So with me, what drives me is, or what made me anchored in the fact that this is healing. It's not me healing it or not the process, but the passion with which I am doing what I'm doing. Life chose to heal me because I was doing my life mission. I was doing my life mission. And early detection is the key to all of these. Most people would say, I am told, and it can't be me. Why me?
Like a self-denial.
They deny the fact that they've been diagnosed with breast cancer. Breast cancer cannot be tagged to anybody. Everybody can get breast cancer. So if you're informed that this is your situation, you need to embrace the fact that you have been informed this way and then ask for the right treatment, the right processes to get your healing. So I sit here today knowing that it is one, early detection that is giving me my life today, because there was no sign, there was no pain, there was no difference. I was just living my normal life. And only to be told this is in and therefore I need to pursue. So somebody would sit there and say, no, I don't see any difference. It is not true what you're saying, so I wouldn't listen to it. And possibly go in to see traditionalists, herbalists, prayer comes for that. And I tell you, that is the most dangerous thing to do when you choose to deny the fact that you've been told that this is the situation and you do otherwise.
Fantastic. I mean, I have goosebumps. But I think your faith, or maybe as a form of support that you get from your immediate environment, would you say you had the support from home, apart from the faith, which I can see is oozing, the support that you have? Sometimes the people around us actually become the scare factor. When people hear something, they go, hey. I mean, how was your supportive environment?
Truthfully, me as a person, I wouldn't make you feel that I'm in a terrible situation for you to feel my pain.
Okay.
And my spiritual background, I am anchored spiritually such that the awareness that I have grounded me. My spiritual home grounded me. My family members, they are also strong people that they were not shattered, they were not broken, but it's the positive aspect of how are we going about it, the support system. And I can remember at a point when we were going for this youth camp, at a point I needed my spiritual father to just see the state in which I am and what he would advise. He says, you know what, I wouldn't want to have a sight of anything short of what I know of you. I wouldn't want to have a sight of anything short of what I know of you. I know you as this whole person, and that is the image I want to have with you, of you. So with this, we went to the youth camp, it was bad, and the next day, there was a miracle. My family, very supportive, and it's like they're amazed at how I am able to pull through. I never relented on any of my responsibilities. I'm always up and going, and my mom will tell me, people want to come and visit me at home. By the time they come home, I am standing in the kitchen doing my work. Or I am in school. I'm a counseling psychologist and school counselor was at Benedict Secondary School. I was in school just this morning. I was telling the assistant headmistress, I'm coming for this show. And this started in 2017. And I showed her an image of mine where my hair had all gone off. Very Sakura. Okay? And she said, when did this happen? I said, 2017, you were in this school. Yes, I was here. I said, but when? We didn't see that. I never made it an issue. You know what? It's about fulfilling my mission and my purpose here. I am the spirit of inspiration and the mouthpiece of God. So every moment, whether I am in pain, whether I am sick, I am using this life to inspire other people to get better. When I go to radiotherapy, that unit, people enter and they're like, God, it's like a dungeon. It's nobody wants
So
to
much
share.
fear.
Yes, nobody wants to share. They go and sit in quiet. Somebody comes and you realize that this person is in so much a deplorable state. But I choose to communicate. And when I'm sharing, then everybody wants to eavesdrop and hear, what is she sharing? What's she sharing? This is me. I live me every day. And I guess me fulfilling my mission is what has kept me. What has kept me. So a life of purposefulness, a life of fulfilling your mission while you're here. If you're doing that, life itself will support you, will take you through, give you all the needed whatever to be able to do its job. It's not my job. It's life's job. So life must take care of me. And this is what I am recommending. People must live purposefully. Live purposefully such that if it happens that today something strikes you and you're to live, you're fulfilled, you're happy, and you won't regret. You won't regret that you didn't do what you had to do. Live each day fulfilling your mission while you are here. And the doctors will say, this lady, she will come and tell you she's going to do something else which is more important than this treatment.
I think it's amazing you have an NGO, an organization, Center for Life Balance. I think people need to understand that breast cancer, if you do get it, it's not a death sentence.
No.
So I'll go back to Doc and I'll come back to you here. So Doc, so somebody comes for a screening. There's a lamp. Did you come with? Automatically, you know, there's some bad news in the offing. What is the process? I mean, what is the medical process to go from that point to where you be declared free?
Pick up a lamp or any pathology because
Yes, Doctor, we'll take it from you.
So once it can be shown that the disease is just restricted to the breast or it's an early disease, then we realize that your chances are bright. And so, like my co-panelist said, we go through the various stages of treatment because first of all, we have to work on the breast. We either do surgery, and the surgery may be we are either taking off the whole breast or part of the breast, depending on a whole lot of factors. You would also require to go through chemotherapy, and these are medications that go to destroy both the cancer cells and the normal cells. And so that is when you realize that people lose their hair, nails turn black, palms turn black, and all that. And it's because of the effect of the chemotherapeutic drugs. The next thing is radiotherapy. And for radiotherapy,
So you have to do both. It's not either or.
yeah, usually because once the the cancer is removed, you have to radiate what we call the tumor bed. So where the cancer was resting must be radiated. Only in a situation where there's a contraindication. If there's no contraindication to radiotherapy, you will go through radiotherapy.
Okay.
And so these are broadly the processes you will go through to achieve cure. Because once we detect it early, cure is achievable. And I'm excited by what my co-panelist said. She's a woman of God. And so all our people out there should take note. Once it is about your health, go to the appropriate place and seek treatment. It is very, very crucial. We have too many myths about breast cancer being a spiritual disease. It is people give it to other people in dreams. It's a whole lot of things, and it's not helping. They go, like she said, prayer camps and other places, and by the time they come, it's too late. Once you find a change, show up. Let us clear you that this is not malignant. This is malignant, so we can do A, B, and C. And then we go on. So it's a very important thing I'd like to stress on. Once you detect it, show up at the health facility and get treatment. Thank you.
And I think in the month of October, a lot of health facilities offer free screening. So Nyaho Medical Center through the Nyaho Foundation, which is our corporate social responsibility arm, will be conducting free screenings every Friday in the month of October from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please don't miss this opportunity to screen. As both panelists have said, the key really is early detection. So I'll come back to Mrs. Tete. Your faith is really amazing. What would you say to somebody going through the process now where friends and family have detected the person? Is there a place to go for this kind of inspiration to keep on moving on?
We are, how do I even put it? We are a system being. Nobody is in this world as an island. You certainly must have come through or from a family. And I would urge that nobody would want to be treated badly. If it happens, you would love somebody to be there for you. And this is something that I would recommend family members begin to have an open heart and open mind. And be a strong support system for their people if they're going through this, because the journey is not easy. You seriously need support. If you're left alone, loneliness alone may take you off. If you don't have somebody who believes in you and gives you the support, you will feel so dejected, and emotional breakdown is even worse off. Going through physical breakdown and emotional breakdown is not the best for the situation. So I would plead that families, people, friends, be support system for anyone who is found in such a situation, because collectively we make things work. If you shun and reject people to go through their own situation, we are destroying our own environment, our own system. And when it befalls you, you would want somebody else to be there for you.
Fantastic. And I think churches can also help.
Churches should be one of the centers where, and churches, if I say one of the centers, the leaders of the churches should know the right things to do. Sometimes people have this, they go to the churches, and some of the leaders of the church will tell them, come, I'll pray for you instead. So if churches, I am recommending that churches should advocate their their congregation to seek right treatment procedures. Back the people with the social support and prayer, and then it will all come to a good end. But don't deny them from going to take the right medication or right treatment path and say you do all in the church room. What is left for spirit must be left for spirit. What must go to medical hands must go to medical hands. It's the same God that gave wisdom to some people to take care of our bodies. And it's the same God that would help you when you have emotional or spiritual challenge. So let us take the right paths when things like this befall us.
Fantastic. Doc, I have another question for you before I come back to Mrs. Tete. So once you go through the process, so does it mean you are cancer-free for life? Does it mean that, oh, now I can live my life, this can never recur in other parts of my body or back in my breast?
Yes. So once you are cured, and when I mean you are cured, you've gone through all the processes, and what we do at the end is that you go through a series of investigations again, because what we have to be sure about is, let's say 6 months down the line after treatment, how are your lungs looking like? How is your liver looking like? How are your bones looking like? Because these are areas where the cancer can spread. Sometimes in the beginning, we call something micrometastasis. These are very small spreads you can't see. So we need to go back and check. And so these are done periodically. And so once you are cleared, you are cleared. The other risk is that anybody who's had breast cancer before also stands a risk of having it again, like we say, in the contralateral breast or in the other breast. So those people would have to always be followed up on, because like we've always said, when you detect it early, your chances are very, very good. So in as much as you are cleared, we always have an eye on you as well. So you are not let loose to go. Once we know that you are fine, we also have at the back of our minds that anything can happen. So let's keep an eye. And so we have checking. Exactly.
So how's your daughter though? She fine, but she's
Amazingly, when the time for her surgery was due, we sent her back to the hospital, and there was nothing in her breast. So that's why I say that I being here is a miracle, because God used her to pull me to the hospital to find out what was happening to me. Other than that, possibly I would have stayed there and would have advanced into some other levels, which wouldn't have been the best for me, as she's doing very well.
okay. We have a question from our online viewers, and the question I think goes to Doc. For a man with relatives who had breast cancer, what should be my warning signs? What should be his warning signs?
So for a man, your warning signs are just like I said for women. So any change in the skin or the color of your breast, any lump in it, any lump even in your armpit or your axilla, anything
So when I say axilla,
that's your armpit.
oh, axilla.
Yeah,
Okay.
your armpit. So any lump you find there, please, it may be a warning sign. So let's not take chances. It could even be just a rash, or like I said, an nipple discharge. So once you see any of these, please take the step, go to the health facility, get checked. In as much as in up to about 90% of the cases, it is not malignant. There is still a chance that a man can have breast cancer.
So men won't have different signs
No,
than what we
no,
know.
they won't have different signs.
Okay. So for somebody who wants to support a cause like this, maybe in Ghana, I don't know if there's an association that people can walk to and say, yes, I have some of your faith and inspiration. Is there a place people can walk to Or maybe Doc, you can also answer that from the medical perspective.
So I am the chair for the Advocacy Subcommittee of Breast Society of Ghana for Curable, and anyone who would want support, we're seeking support. You see, the treatment for breast cancer is very high. Most people are not able to go through the entire process smoothly because of financial constraints. So we would advocate that if there are institutions who can really support, such that people who come in, walk in, and do not have the financial standing to go through are supported. Because what befalls your brother can befall you. So we need to support ourselves. So we're advocating for support. And then I would also say that, you see, we need to share. We need to speak. People feel stigmatized. People feel bad because of the notion attached to breast cancer. So somebody is going through the situation, would not even want the sister, the brother, the family members know what she is going through, and would sit quietly, keep it all to him or herself, till the time it gets so unbearable, you can't manage, and that time nobody can help you. So, individuals, just know that this is not caused by yourself. It can happen to anybody. It is no fault of you, or it was no fault of me for having breast cancer. It just came. And if you're able to disclose it to the right people, you will get the right people. Do not go and speak to somebody who will not encourage you to pursue and say, oh, this one, it's nothing. Oh, this one, let me take you to my friend here, or my pastor here, or I know I have this here. Or they've given me this oil. They've given me this oil, get and use it to rub it, smear on it, and it will handle it. Don't do that. We all must be championing this cause where we speak about it and let people know that it is real. If it happens to you, seek the right path.
Fantastic. We have another question from Margaret. I used to thank you, Margaret. So Margaret is saying, thank you for such an informative session. Is hair dye linked to a higher risk of breast cancer? And does constant use of hair dryers increase your risk as well? I think we've heard stories about either relaxing creams, hair dye. Is there any link?
As at now, there hasn't been any direct link between breast cancers and hair dyes. The most important thing I want to say is that we should be inquisitive about what we use for our bodies. These days, there are a lot of modified agents which we say are carcinogenic. They're carcinogenic, they are cancer causing. So we have to be careful. The thing about it is that sometimes these dyes may not come from original sources. There are too many adulterated products in town, and so I'd advise that be careful. As it is now, no research has found a link between the two.
What about hair dryers? The heat from the hair dryers, I think.
This is new to me, but I'm wondering how the heat will not give you a scalp cancer, but a breast cancer. But you know, I will not be able to speak to that, but I have my doubts whether really hair dryers will cause breast cancer or have a link to breast cancer. That would be for us to research some more.
Okay. And there's a lot of research going on. We have another question from Frida. Frida is asking, is there a link between oral contraceptives and breast cancer?
Yes. Like I said, estrogen is a major factor. So if you have any contraception or contraceptive method that exposes you to estrogen, because some of these pills, these oral pills contain estrogen, then the continuous exposure puts you at risk. And so that is true. People who also undergo hormone replacement therapy. So for some reason, maybe for some fertility reason, they are put on estrogen and the exposure is prolonged. There is that probability of developing breast cancer, and that's true.
So speak to your doctor, I'm sure that's what you would say.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we have well done, Mrs. Tete, for the fight. That's coming to you. Is breast cancer completely curable?
Yes, breast cancer is completely curable.
Okay, fantastic. We have another one saying, is excess use of milk or dairy products connected to cases of breast cancer? I think earlier on you spoke about some products or some lifestyle issues that probably increase our risk. Is dairy any part of it?
I haven't come across dairy being part of those that induce breast cancer. And so I won't be able to say, but from what I know, cigarette smoking, obesity, alcohol, these are ones that are well established to be cancer causing.
Okay. Our next question is from Mavis, and Mavis is asking, how does menstrual and reproductive history affect breast cancer risk?
So like I mentioned earlier, I spoke about menarche and menopause. Menarche is when you begin menstruation, and menopause is when you end. Exactly. So between that period, like I said, from 12 to about 55 years, that's a long exposure to estrogen, as opposed to somebody who may have started menstruation from, let's say, 16 and had menopause at 45, which is a shorter duration. So that continuous exposure, and again, we come back to estrogen, is something that is crucial and has the possibility of causing the breast cancer. In addition to that, nulliparity, like I mentioned, once you have not gotten pregnant and given birth before, you have regular menstrual cycles, and it is all with exposure to estrogen. Once you get pregnant, you are exposed to progesterone. Estrogen levels are down. Even during the time when you are even breastfeeding, okay, breastfeeding has been shown to be protective. Once you are breastfeeding, you are unlikely to have your menses, and that is what we call lactational amenorrhea. So once you are not having your menses, the exposure to estrogen is reduced, and that is why breastfeeding is seen as protective in breast cancer.
Okay. Shewa has a question, and she's saying, how often should I get my breast checked?
As often as you can, and that is really my message for today, because once you can do the examination yourself, who knows the breast better than yourself? If you can do it every week, that's not a problem. Every day, that's not a problem. But ideally, once every month is advisable. And so you realize that during the month, there are changes in the breast. Just before the menstruation comes, it becomes a bit heavy, looks like it's swollen. During the menses, it looks like it's a bit lumpy. So a week after you have your period would be the most ideal time to have your breast checked by yourself. If you find something and you are not sure about it, get to the hospital and have it double checked. Because once you find it early, we can cure.
What about burning sensations, or not necessarily burning, but sensations in the breast?
Yes, I would not limit anything to yourself. Once you feel uncomfortable in your breast, show up in the health facility and get checked.
Fantastic. So we're talking about support earlier, and if you are home and you want to support this cause, the Yahuda Foundation is putting up these beautiful t-shirts up for sale. When you come for screening, you can buy a piece, one beautiful one, for 35 Ghana cedis, or buy a ribbon for 5 cedis to support the cause. As you're saying, the screening is free in the month of October. So every Friday between 9 to 2 p.m., free screening happening at the main branch of the Medical Center, 35 Kofi Annan Street in Airport Residential Area. I'll take my last words. You have been such an inspiration. By sitting close to you, I've actually felt some of the inspiration. What are your last words to people who are either going through the process now or people who have already survived?
what I would share is everybody, both men and women, have, like doctor has said, have regular examination of the body you are having. Know your body. And for the women especially, shared by doctor, after your menses, a week after, go through examining your breast and report it to the right authorities. Secondly, most women who go through breast cancer and get to the very deplorable state are those who are not self-sufficient or independent. And sometimes women would say that if I should go, possibly they will cut my breast. My husband would not be happy with it. Or I'll feel less of a woman. So I wouldn't want to venture the hospital. I don't want my body to be touched with a knife. Even professionals, some professionals, go to such an extent that they will deny the right treatment to be given them for this. I am urging everyone. You are a whole human being. Without a breast, you're still a human being. Without two breasts, you're still a human being. And you can achieve your goals without breasts, even if they are cut. So seek the right medical attention. And do not say that if you live saying that if I cut my breast, my husband may leave me. Sit and wait for your breast to get to that state where it's so bad, nobody would stay around you. The person you cry for to live with would deny you, would leave you for another person. So please, it's important. Take care of yourself. Be confident, be self-sufficient, have ownership of your own life, and take the right steps to pursue what is needed for you at any point in time. These are my words.
Fantastic. Before your last words, there's just one question that I think I must ask. So Jennifer is asking, Doc mentioned that sometimes a lump in the armpit can be a sign of breast cancer. I've heard that using deodorants or roll-ons can cause breast cancer because it is close to the breast. Can Doc speak to this? So you tell us this, and then you give us your last remarks.
Okay. So lumps in the armpit may be of varying origins. And like she said, sometimes when you use a roll-on or a deodorant, especially after you've had a close shave, you realize that there may be pain and a lump. That may be as a result of an infection. Anyway, you have to get it checked. But there hasn't been any link between the use of deodorant and breast cancer. For my last words, I would like to tell all of us, and being a man, I'd address the men more. We all adore our women with breasts. Whatever it is, let us be supportive. If your wife, your mother, your sister, your auntie, you know her and this month you don't take interest in her getting her breast checked, then you are not doing anybody any favors. The same kind of breast that fed you to make you what you are today, we need to protect. And so please, to all of us, let us get on board. I know for we clinicians especially, we don't do too well with advocacy, all because we are busy doing clinical work. But at least for this month, let's make as much noise as we can. Like my co-panelist said, let us support each other. Let us build strong social support systems. Let us get breast examinations done as regularly as possible, because that is the sure way to detect or catch this disease early. And once you catch it early, you can always cure it. Let us beware. There are too many people out there proclaiming to have cure, which they don't have. And thank God, our woman of God today has spoken. Give unto God what is God. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Let us have a wonderful month of October. And let us let this spread throughout the year and even beyond. The more the awareness is created, the more we can bring people in to get treated and cured.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rumi Hussein, and he is resident here with us in Yahoo Medical Center. Mrs. Josephine Tete, we are so grateful. Thank you very much. I'm sure people will want to know how they can get in touch with you. Follow us on our social media handles. We'll be putting most of our information back on. I'm sure you would want to speak to her for if you are going to this difficult process. Once again, as I said, if you want to support our cause, the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are here every Friday. If you want to buy a shirt for 35 cedis, please support us. Buy a ribbon, and that's what Mrs. Tete is wearing for 5 cedis to support it. At this point, we declare the month of October, or what we are calling Breastober, duly launched. Follow us for more information, and hope to see you next week, Friday, for your screening. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Yes.